How do I attract an awakened man or woman into my life? A conscious partner? Is there a specific practice I need to be aware of? How does it really work? Do I first need to be clear about every single quality and trait I want in them, and then they will appear? Today I will demystify this topic, so you know what you can practically start doing right after this episode to consciously manifest an awakened partner into your life. Before we go deep into this topic, I need to emphasize the following. There is not one way to attract a conscious partner into your life. There are infinite ways. The universe is not black and white. What I'm going to focus on today is the most graceful way to attract or manifest a conscious partner into your life. Now, what this means is that many people who are on this path find themselves in this state of impatience, frustration, even desperation, until they manifest or meet their ideal partner. But here is the thing. This is not the most enjoyable and most graceful way to do this. Because at the end of the day, no matter whether they appear tomorrow, in 2 months, or in 5 years, you want to make sure that you make the most of your life, of your current life right now, whether they're here with you or they are not. So this is what today's approach is going to focus on. The most graceful and, in my perspective, powerful way to attract a conscious partner into your life. Now, before I tell you how to attract them and the practice, I want to start with how not to attract them. Or maybe better to say, how to do this with the highest amount of suffering and pain on your path. There's a couple of things, well, several things that I need you to be aware of. Otherwise, this is going to be a journey of suffering. And the journey of attracting a conscious partner, from my perspective, is meant to be a journey filled with joy, filled with beauty, filled with love. Now, one of the biggest challenges that I see people having here is that there seems to be this perspective that when we attract our ideal partner, a conscious awakened partner, then everything is going to be perfect. And while they wonderfully amplify your life and add so much beauty and love and depth to your life, this is simply not the case. Simply because relationships are here to awaken us. They're not here to be only comfortable and to only soothe us. So it's very important that you really let this sink into your heart. Because no matter what level of consciousness you reach, there will always be challenges. Based on your level of consciousness, you will have specific challenges. Someone who is way more awakened than another will still have challenges, but these challenges will simply be at a different level of consciousness. That is how I like to explain it. Now, what this essentially means is that even if you do so much work and you heal so much and you meet this amazing person, of course it's going to be beautiful, but it doesn't mean there are not going to be any challenges. And people can have a rude awakening here because they suffer their way through manifesting a conscious partner. Because the truth is, there is no such thing as if you are in a state of negativity, you will never meet them. No, there is something much, much deeper at play here. This is not black and white. But then again, of course, the highest possibility of attracting them is when you are in your center, when you are in your power. Still, if there is any belief inside you that meeting them will take the worry and will take the pain or suffering or whatever you experience simply away, then you are in for a rude awakening. Because a conscious relationship amplifies what is already there. And if there is a lot of love and grace and healing energy within you, then the conscious relationship will amplify that and will deepen it. But if there is a lot of pain, unresolved wounding inside you, then you're in for a ride. Not to say that it's not going to work. It's possible, of course, you can heal together. but there is going to be an intensity, because that too will become amplified, so it rises to the surface. So very important. Don't romanticize it. Don't look into the future, finally, when I meet them. Remember, you have challenges now, you will have challenges then. This is not to say that you should be pessimistic about it. Enjoy it. It will add so much beauty to your life. But don't forget, freedom is here. Freedom is never in the future. And if you can't be free now, you can't be free later. Just remember this. Another thing, a challenge I see people having here is, because we live in a world of instant gratification, there can be this mindset or perspective that there is this one practice we do in order to attract a conscious partner into our life. So we do this one thing and then it's going to happen. We do this one thing and then it's going to happen. And of course, that's not how it works. Because at the end of the day, this is the deepest spiritual work. There are so many factors contributing to that. Just because you in your mind think you need to now meet them is not going to mean that you will meet them. Yes, you are powerful beyond measure, but every soul has a journey, has a soul's journey. And there is a time and space where you will be ready for them. And since you don't know that, it is very important to let go of ideas of, I need to do this and then they will come, or maybe now, but to let that go entirely. Because here is what I always like to remind people of. Your heart has to undergo a journey of hardship, a journey of heartbreak perhaps, grief, mourning, pain. This is different for every person. Usually, but this is usually what happens, until your heart is prepared and ready for a conscious partner. Let this sink into your being. Let me repeat, your heart has to undergo a journey of pain, heartbreak, mourning, grief, to be cracked open so strongly that through these cracks the light can enter, which signifies the spiritual journey, which signifies the heart being initiated and made ready, or you being made ready by the universe, by the higher intelligence, to now actually build a thriving, deeply conscious and awakened relationship. And you in your mind are not able to say, well, now I'm ready, because that's just a thought. That's just something in your mind. The universe decides. And when you can really let this sink in at an embodied level, then you take the pressure out. And this is key. Taking the pressure out of your journey of attracting your ideal partner. Instead of wanting it so badly right now, I invite you to shift your perspective. That to surrender to the journey. So, for instance, you can say, I surrender to the journey my heart is meant to undergo before I meet them. And if you already listen to this, you can feel a deep breath here. A deep breath of relief, a deep breath of, I can just drop in, ground, and be patient, and be in my center, be in my power. I don't have to be anymore. I don't have to stress. I don't have to put so much pressure to any of this. Now, another thing I noticed what's happening, I mentioned it already briefly, is that wanting to attract a conscious partner comes from a place of frustration and desperation. We can also call this from a place of lack. And this is not to be confused with the basic human desire, one of the core desires, perhaps the strongest desire. The desire for connection, for intimacy. No desire is stronger than that. It is a basic human need. So when I say coming from a place of frustration, desperation, It's important that yes, there is a certain fragility. We all want deep intimacy, deep love, deeply. And it is okay to have this deep yearning, this deep desire within you. It's part of the journey. But when that leads into a sense of desperation and hopelessness and anxiety, then it's not just the basic desire for intimacy. Then it has become part of the shadow. The shadow is kind of, or a wound is using this in order to further strengthen itself. But I'm not going to go too deep into that because that is not the topic of today's episode. What happens when we want it so badly to happen is that this will lead to a lot of pain, simply because it can very quickly lead us to not see, even though I don't like the word, but I will use it now for context and easy understanding. We will easily miss red flags. We will easily miss our intuition because we're not coming from a grounded and discerning place. We're coming from a place of haste, from a place of we want it so badly to happen. And our mind can really trick us easily and deceive us easily when we are in this haste, when we are in this, it needs to work, it needs to work, because we're not grounded, we're not in our center, we're not open to the guidance of the universe, to the higher intelligence, to our deepest intuition. And then we miss things. And then we end up perhaps in a trauma bond, or we are with someone who is actually not at all what we want to experience, and we experience suffering. Still, if it happens, it happens. Please don't beat yourself up. But if you approach this from a more grounded and centered place, rather from this haste and frustration, then chances are high that it's going to be easier for you to be discerning, to be aware of your deepest intuition, to see whether this person is truly right for you or they are not. And this is one of the most important thing to become aware of. It can also lead us to the idea of twin flame concepts. Not that there is no truth in it. I call it sacred union. I personally don't like the word twin flame, but maybe that's only because the associations with it is just there's so much superficial, let's call it nonsense, being shared about it, which is not rooted in the sacred. But not that there is anything wrong with, and that there is no truth to sacred union and twin flame and having a divine counterpart in this life with whom your soul is meant to connect, and together you reach the highest level and you evolve together. But it can quickly lead us to romanticize such things. It can quickly lead us to see these things, perhaps interpret it in the way we want it because we want it so badly. So quintessence is, it can just lead us to oversee red flags and to interpret things into something that might not be there. Now, other challenge is the whole mindset, and this is really crucial. I invite you to really, really listen carefully here. Is this kind of idea, what am I doing wrong? Self-shaming, beating yourself up. Why haven't I attracted them already? What is wrong with me? Why is this not working? The moment you approach it from this mindset, then you are in for a vicious cycle of suffering. Because now I can guarantee you that every intimate partner you attract, where it doesn't work out, becomes further proof of your failure, of you not being good enough. This is a topic for a whole other episode, but the unworthiness wound is deep within us all. And this is a way how we can amazingly continue to feel completely unworthy. You see, it didn't work out. I'm so bad. I didn't make it work. But if every encounter that doesn't work out in the sense of is the perfect ideal partner, you are going to have a lot of evidence how unworthy you are. Because once again, you don't know in your mind, only the highest intelligence knows the journey your heart is meant to undergo. So instead of seeing it as a sign of failure, surrender to the journey. This doesn't mean don't become aware of the lessons, but surrender to the journey. because that changes completely your energy and your mindset towards it. I mean, if every time it doesn't work out, you beat yourself up, you shame yourself, then it's just going to be a very, very painful journey. Not that with this you can't attract them, because again, it's not black and white. There is not only one way, but it's going to be harder. It's going to be definitely, if not harder, much more painful. Now, having said all of this, let's now go into what can you start doing right now to consciously manifest an awakened partner into your life. And also by doing this, again, you cannot cheat the universe. Your heart is meant to go for a journey, your soul. But this is definitely opening yourself to the highest or infinite possibilities to be ready for them to enter your life. Now, the first thing I already mentioned briefly, and that is every time something doesn't work out, look for the lesson. Look for the blessing. Look what this is teaching you, because it's vital in the preparation for you once they appear. Look at the upheaval, the pain, or whatever that has triggered within you. Look at it so carefully, so deeply. Reflect about what was happening. What threw you out of your center? Were you pleasing? Were you playing the victim? Were you codependent? Were you controlling? Look at your part. Learn from this. Learn from it. Because the more you focus your energy on learning the lessons you are meant to learn for your heart and soul to be ready, then you will naturally much quicker attract them into your life. Focus your energy on the inner healing that is naturally being exposed and pointed out through anything you need to go through in order to be made ready for this path of sacred union. Now, let's get even more practical. And just before I share this practice with you, of course, this goes way deeper than that. I cannot possibly all cover this in an episode. That's why, if you want to go deeper into this, I recommend my Awaken Masculine or Awaken Feminine program. But here is one extremely powerful practice, and that is to turn attracting a conscious partner into your life into a practice rather than a one-time thing. Turn it into a spiritual practice. And what is this spiritual practice? It essentially is that you create an inner and outer reality where a conscious man or woman entering your life is a natural byproduct of the reality you have created. Let me repeat. The spiritual practice of attracting a conscious partner is to create an inner reality and outer reality where a conscious man or woman entering your life is a natural byproduct of the reality and life that you have created. Something that complements your life rather than gives it its meaning. Let this sink in. When you want to attract a conscious partner, and they are the meaning of your life, that comes from an energy which is just not the most powerful way to manifest from. But if they are a complement to the already amazing, abundant, beautiful inner and outer reality you have created, then how beautiful is that? And this is the most powerful energy, intention to attract and manifest from. Now, you want to make sure that there is already deep meaning in your life before you attract a conscious partner. Because at the end of the day, a conscious relationship always amplifies what is there. And if there is a lack of meaning, then they will amplify that within you. So I invite you here to shift your mindset from why are they not here yet, or what am I doing wrong, to asking yourself an extremely potent and powerful question. How can I create a life where a conscious partner showing up is inevitable? Let this sink in, because this opens you into the field of infinite possibilities. This allows you to connect with higher intelligence, with infinite intelligence. And this completely shifts the energy from which you are attracting. You are now manifesting from a place of openness, from a place of love, curiosity, your deepest inner being, rather than a place of lack, a place of fear and wounding. The more you trust and surrender to the journey your heart is meant to undergo in order to be ready for a conscious partner, the more at peace and in harmony you are with life. This in turn naturally raises your vibration and frequency, which means as you are embodying your truth, you are much more likely to draw them into your path. Which leads us to another important thing. And of course, this one I cannot cover in its entirety. I will only briefly touch upon it. But you embodying, whether your core is feminine or masculine, you embodying your true nature, your truth. That is what's going to call them into your field like nothing else. In order to learn all about this, the practices, and really in the most powerful way, I invite you to take a look at my Awakened Masculine as a man or as a woman at my Awakened Feminine program. You can read more about it on my website lorincren.com or by clicking on the show notes. Now, the quintessence to conclude here, the most graceful and powerful way to attract a conscious partner into your life is by turning this into a spiritual everyday practice. The practice of creating an inner and outer reality where them showing up is inevitable. This in turn shifts your energy, the place from which you are attracting. Now you are manifesting from your center of power. And now there is the highest chance of them entering your life. And even if they don't enter your life for the next following years, and let's say in 3-4 years they enter your life, you have lived in the most powerful, meaningful, purposeful, and abundant way possible. You have created a deep sanctuary, and they complement to the sanctuary that you have created. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm so honored to have you here. I invite you to join my free newsletter, which you can find in the show notes, or by visiting lorincren.com/newsletters to receive in-depth, powerful emails every single Friday in your inbox. Each one covering a specific theme, personal stories of my life, deepest reflections of my journal, really emails that allow you to take your intimate life and in your spiritual journey to go to a higher level. Now, if you have enjoyed this episode, if you have gained deep value from this, then I invite you to share this or another episode with someone who you think needs to hear this. And of course, if you share it on your socials, on your stories, or any social media, that allows us to reach more people. Also, if you can leave a review, if you enjoyed this, a 5-star review, and rate the podcast and write a little review about how you feel, what experience it creates within you to listen to these episodes, then that's going to help us to reach more people. And by you doing that, you contribute to us being able to provide these in-depth episodes entirely for free. Once again, thank you for being here. The fact that you have listened to the end means that you take your journey seriously. It means that you have prioritized your awakening. And when this is your biggest desire to awaken, then everything is possible.